Insight in Ukraine and Russia is back again with some pretty wild intercepted phone calls. And we are going to be breaking down just what's going on with this. This is some of the most wild stuff we've heard recorded. So let's get into it. Okay, as you guys know, first off, Insight right there. He makes great content, and because what he's sharing is sometimes real and limited in its censorship, he often gets demonetized. And he has a members program, right, that I'm a member of to support him. If you want to support me, of course, combatvetnews.com is the place. Get access to exclusive videos. The link to that's in the description. But let's get into this real quick.
Intercepted phone call might be too much for some of you, so please be mentally prepared.
Это на тренировке ко мне.
It just involves a brief description of I'm trying to think of a nice way to put this. A war crime. A war crime.
Девушка подошла и говорит, что у нее муж 8 лет отсидел, осталось 5, и он пошел не вагнеровцы, а через министерство.
So this is really interesting. That. Supposedly, right, we know that Wagner for a long time has been recruiting from Russian prisons and penal colonies, and that it's been a source of some of their low-skill combat forces. But recently, Wagner was actually booted out of Russian prisons and cutting off a main source of their combat power. But here's the crazy thing. This is the first I've heard of rumors, and I treat all of these intercepts with a grain of salt if the information they contain can't be vetted elsewhere. But it would make sense that the Ministry of Defense has stepped in to fill this gap and is now drawing their own manpower from these prisons.
Обороны. Полностью одели, все выдали, а теперь они все у них просят, что, говорит, броники как бумажные, плохие.
So this is something we've heard. There's actually been leaked footage of Russian troops showing their plates, and the plates are like frighteningly thin. I can try to look it up. Russian military. They are made of aluminum, it appears, and it's really, really disturbing to see. Let's see. Oh, here you go. Aluminum body armor. Yeah, here we go. This is from October. It says they're issued fake body armor. This is probably not quite it. DNR wearing older B632, which the Ratnik superseded. The older version transmits too much blunt trauma to the wearer, causing broken ribs. Right, got old bulletproof vests with holes. Yeah, 56 sets of body armor being sold, now forced to buy their own. Yeah, this is from older. Okay, here we go. Ukrainian soldiers showing captured Russian body armor. Oh, fucking Twitter, dude. Gets worse every time. Okay, so there you go. Look. Look at how thin this is. It appears to be thin pieces of aluminum. It might, so that sort of stuff, it may be steel. It sounds like steel based on hitting it. It seems like it may stop a shrapnel, potentially smaller pieces of shrapnel. It may stop pistol caliber rounds, but I've literally not seen a soldier rock a pistol in this conflict. There's no way untreated steel of that level of thickness is going to stop an AR round. Yeah, that's not thick enough. To give you an idea, right, there are steel insert body armor. They are seen as cheaper, but this is an example of what those plates might look like here. These are steel plates, and I don't, you know, I would never endorse a body armor company. I wouldn't say never, but you can see, right, these are NIJ level 3 rated, and they are pretty thick. So this is typical. That's what you would typically see of steel body armor. Not anything like what we just saw those guys wear. Let's see. Yeah. So just like you should understand, of course, that this is really just it's just not it's just not going to work. That's not going to stop rounds. It's symbolic body armor, basically, which is kind of wild. But when they say it's like it's made from paper, that's what they're talking about.
Тепловизоры им надо, и тоже генератор.
We've also heard from many other sources that they need thermal imagers, including one of Russia's own manuals that was leaked. And it indicated that it instructed officers that officers should use their salary to buy their own thermal imagers. Okay. So you may know that a big talking point of Russian propaganda they've actually pivoted away from is describing Ukrainian the Ukrainians who are defending their sovereignty as being aligned with the German forces of World War II. And that's just not... It's been a talking point, and even it's so absurd that even Russia itself is pivoting away from it because it is we just haven't seen it, right? It sort of is ridiculous that President Volodymyr Zelensky is of Jewish heritage. So it's sort of absurd at the surface. Also, again, they're a democracy. There's a lot of reasons why, even for Russian propaganda, it's too preposterous. They've pivoted towards instead referring them in more recent propaganda as stooges or puppets of the West, and that it's actually their proxy soldiers of NATO who have a broad and unclearly defined desire to destroy Russia is the propaganda talking point now. Today's video is sponsored by Siege World War II. Siege World War II is a mobile real-time strategy game where you raise and command armies and engage in epic PvP battles. Unlock and collect the ultimate troop upgrades and tactics, form clans to share cards, and dominate the global leaderboards. With over 40 seasons and over 1 million downloads, this game is constantly getting upgrades, new challenges, and rewards. Use my link in the description or the QR code to download and play for free.
БРГ шли человек, двоих одного живем взяли. И узнали командиры, которые с первого захода офицеры воевали уже, узнали днем торнадо. Это очень страшно.
So this sort of thing, so the Geneva Convention is very clear on
Honestly,
how you're supposed to treat prisoners of war. And being captured, especially being harmed as punishment, is extremely it's insanely illegal. Multiple U.S. troops have been tried and convicted by U.S. justice system, by the UCMJ, for committing exactly this war crime. Most prominently, a Navy SEAL named Eddie Gallagher was accused of doing something similar to a purportedly captured ISIS fighter who was actually only 17. And this captured fighter, gosh, I can't even say what he did, but basically he finished him off with a knife, is what he told a friend in private texts. And in the trial, some of the witnesses who had been promised immunity for their testimony suddenly changed their testimony and claimed that they had been the one to do it, or that it had been done as part of a medical procedure. And it was a total farce because the some of the SEALs on the SEAL team had seemed to support what Gallagher had done, and some seemed to have been appalled by it. But in the U.S., right, we don't condone war crimes. It's not something that we do because obviously we're a democracy and our military has to reflect our own values. And while we are not perfect, our soldiers are not perfect human beings. When they commit crimes, they receive a fair but effective form of justice through the UCMJ. Obviously, Russia does not behave this way.
Done eventually. The next interception is coming somewhere from Donbass region, from a phone of a Russian soldier who assumes that he got surrendered by Ukrainian forces. Let's listen to it.
I will say something about the vibe is different for Insight. I don't know what else to tell you. It's a little more nationalistic, and I'm not sure why.
Кто-то будет нас даже вывести никак сейчас.
А что?
Ну так.
So I'm going to tell you, I've listened to this. If you assume this Russian soldier is incredibly intoxicated, what he says will make more sense.
В кольце мы небольшое.
It won't make more sense, but
Ну,
it'll...
окружили нас, короче. Вот, они где-то там пробили, что-то пробили, я не знаю, пока врать не буду ничего. Мне такая информация. Я сегодня пойду в разведку, в секрет. Засяду, буду смотреть, как они передвигаются, что они делают. Ночник.
Ты же больше не рассказывай.
Да нет, а нормально. Что.
Тебе можно, что ли, да?
А мне...
So, okay, this is... Being surrounded is a very serious fear of soldiers, and being unable to get to support. Simply because you become on a fixed timeline, a timetable that's very limited. There is no additional resources. You do not have, your food, your ammunition is running out. You can only evacuate casualties to the limit of where you're surrounded. So it is a terrifying feeling. And it has been... Being surrounded is usually a prerequisite for some of the largest and most egregious military disasters in modern history. The Kessel in Stalingrad is one example of an entire German army group that was eliminated. Something similar almost happened to the United States. The 1st Brigade of the 101st Airborne was surrounded in a town called Bastogne, and only through a pretty decisive drive by the 1st Armored Division and General Patton were they able to be relieved. And again, so the fear and desperation is reality based, but you have to come up with a real plan for this, and every man for himself is not how you escape a situation in which you are surrounded.
Я уже ничего как бы...
Успокойся.
А мне нормально работает. Да нас
Я просто все
окружили.
прослеживаю,
Нет,
смотрю, везут к вам.
I don't care. I'm doing my job. We got encircled. This is the sort of panic that leads you to not getting out.
А нет, сейчас пробивать будем все равно.
Right? This is a real plan. A coordinated breakout is the much better plan. And the problem with being surrounded is that it's attritional. And so your troops are at their best able to fight. They get worse. Your fighting abilities get worse every day. You run short on ammo. You go longer without food and water. You take more casualties that cannot be treated and evacuated. Medical supplies get lower and lower. So if you're surrounded, what you have to do is break out immediately. Immediately stage a breakout in an unexpected direction. That is how you have to do it. And the further you are from your friendly lines, the harder that gets. So again, the moment you're surrounded, the ideal is to not get surrounded. As we've seen in places like Bakhmut and Avdiivka, Ukrainian forces fight incredibly hard to not be surrounded. But if they are, the thing you do is break out immediately.
Завтра, что ли? Да, окружение пробивать. Они нас думают, что окружили, мы им сейчас дадим. Мы тут сейчас с мобилизованным разговаривали, у них 4 танка. Сейчас будем пробиваться. Сейчас мы посмотрим.
Oh, yeah. This is another classic one, right? Where, again, officially mobilized soldiers aren't going to the front lines, but the reality seems to be that they are in some numbers.
Мобилизованных будут убирать, возвращать домой.
Слышал.
Домой там, может, очень много денег идет.
Right. 4 tanks. Again, you could break through a small point, and you have to make sure, though, that and this is where encirclements get so tricky, is because you have to do what's called a passage first off, you have to break the encirclement. Then, if you can somehow, hopefully, your friendly forces are shortly beyond those lines. Again, you don't want to fight through miles and miles of enemy controlled territory. But then you have to conduct what's called a passage of friendly lines. And it's hard because you have to think, if you're encircled, right? Let's say you're here, your friendly forces are fighting on the other side of that encirclement. Your rifles are pointed at each other, so to speak. So as you push through the enemy's encirclement, you will actually appear in right where your friendly forces expect to see an enemy formation. And you have to find a way to designate yourself, mark yourself as a friendly force. And then, of course, get close enough without being engaged to actually validate that you are a friendly force and then pass through to friendly lines. It's really hard to do, really, really hard to do. And especially at scale. Again, one soldier can slip through a cordon. 10 soldiers, it's a little harder. But 1,000 soldiers, you simply can't do it. You have to fight your way out.
Это на них и на вас.
Да. Она сейчас мясо будет отправлять. Я так понял тоже.
Но народу все равно не хватает, будут выбирать.
Вообще не хватает вообще.
Please remember that the only way to brought those terrible people.
Yeah. So, right, he talks that they don't have enough people, and we've seen that.
Justice is the victory of Ukraine. Otherwise, they'll be free to repeat this somewhere else in the world. So please stand with Ukraine till the very end.
Yeah, I wonder if he is a little more nationalistic in his tone, because maybe he is in Ukraine, and he may be trying to argue that like his role as a content creator, especially reaching English language audiences, has incredible value to Ukrainian forces, which it does, honestly. I think just being able to reach into the English language space in the US and Europe, and just remind them of the reality of this conflict, right? And I don't have a side in this, right? I'm not a pro-Russian talking head. I'm not a pro-Ukrainian talking head. I've been critical of both sides, though obviously I recognize that Ukrainian sovereignty is being violated, right? And that Ukrainians are defending their homeland and Russians are invading a neighbor, and those are not morally equivalent. But it's it's definitely a strange dynamic, but I suspect that that's why he's a bit more nationalistic than we've seen some of his videos in the past, or he more clearly draws the line between these interceptions and a message, the pro-Ukrainian message. So anyway, guys, that is all I had. Be sure to check the links in the description to combatvetnews.net, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one.